So if they put in like a bunch of different chemicals in there, all they need to put is natural flavors and it'll count.
Because like I said, like if every day was a good day, there would be no good days. Some people out there, they're like putting, pledges in dog cages and like shooting them with like BB guns. It's the best.
Oh, Robby J, Bobby in the building. I've been so excited for this one.
Coming in.
When did we agree on this? Like 2 days ago. Robbie's like, when can I be on your podcast? I'm like,
oh, it's Thursday.
Thursday.
I was like, all right, bet.
Do you like it?
Yeah, this is a dope setup.
You have a podcast too.
Yeah, Vibe Check.
Vibe Check. How's that?
Vibe Check, dude. It's thriving. We literally hop on. There's like no script.
Oh, interesting.
we got the idea from somebody. I think Gary V.
Fuck.
But
Fuck.
No, we literally just go in there, hop on live, and just post it. It's just like raw and real content. We just talk about life, emotions, etc.
Nice. Well, that being said, today's guest is one of my closest friends. We have Robby J. Bobby coming all the way from Ohio, moving to LA, influencer, life changer, knife seller, everything, all of the above. The man does it all. Thank you, Robby, for being on the podcast.
It was such an honor and a blessing to be here, acquainted with one of my very best friends, somebody I trust and I love a lot. So thank you for having me on.
You're a heavy motivator, not only to me, but you're getting into public speaking. You're getting into speaking, changing people's lives, huh? Tell me about that.
Yeah, honestly, like just to rip off the Band-Aid, it came back all the way back from like 8th grade when I moved out of my family's house and lived with friends throughout high school. And like from that point on, I knew that like, there was something instilled in me that I wanted more, and I really want to pay forward the love and the knowledge that's been paid forward to me and help like encourage other people that with the right influence, the right motivation, the right mindset, that they can overcome any challenge that is set against them.
So I noticed something you had not struggled with, but something in along your path when you moved to LA was you were unsure what you wanted to do exactly, because you had been selling knives, correct? Like with Cutco.
Yeah.
And then you kind of like tested the waters and like content, skit creation, whatever it was. And then you completely transitioned 180 into motivational speeches, which I love to hear.
Yeah.
Tell me about the whole process of like what you went through.
Yeah, honestly, I think there's no wrong direction. As long as you're like giving 100% effort in one direction, you really get a feel for like, oh, is this something that I really want to do long term, or is this something that I can utilize these skills and move it into a different platform or a different career path. And so with that being said, I really felt like I really was focusing on too many things all at once with like content creation, knife selling, motivational speaking, life coaching, all these different things. And yes, you can, give a little bit of effort in a lot of different categories to get experience, but to really break through that wall, I feel like you really have to hone in and like throw all your eggs in one basket to break through that wall. And then after that is a great way to, spread your wings out and be able to fly. But you have to have like one strong path that can like break through that wall of success first. And right now that's life coaching and motivational speaking for me.
Do you think after going through all this stuff that you always end up in the direction of like what you were meant for? Do you believe in that? Like, do you believe like looking back at your life that a part of you always had life coaching, had motivation? Is that a reason you think you fell into this path specifically?
Yeah, honestly, a lot of it came down, and I actually had this conversation with my girlfriend a couple of days ago, how she was like, you don't market and give yourself enough credit for the decision that you made to move out of your parents' house, because we were financially struggling and all this kind of stuff, and like moving from house to house to house, and it was like really difficult, but at the same time it was a gift in disguise looking back, because I picked up so many skills on like how to talk to people, how to work my way through challenges and overcome with resilience. And so with that being said, it really took me from like thinking, oh, woe is me, all this stuff is happening to me, to being like, each one of these occurrences or hardships are really a blessing in disguise, because it's training me to be resilient and overcome the challenges that I need to, moving forward, and set myself up for challenges in any category. So if I know I'm not being, like, for example, when I was in college, I was like homecoming king and president of my fraternity and senator for the College of Nursing. And I was, in a way, tired of winning, because I knew that I was a big fish in a small pond. And that's why I wanted to move out to LA to begin with, because I knew it was going to be a challenge for me. I knew that I was going to be forced to grow. And from that point moving forward, it's just been, growing ever since. So it's been pretty exciting.
Wow. I didn't know you're part of a frat. I was like, dude, I've been, because I've been going to UCLA a lot to play soccer. I told you that. I'm like, did I tell you?
No. Did I spark you as a fraternity guy?
Yes, but I didn't think you were part of one. I want to talk about it because I've been going there a lot, because I play on their soccer team, like their club soccer. I know it's a complete 180, but we could go back. But I'm just so interested about like frat life.
Sure.
Like all I get from being an outsider, never being part of a fraternity. Like, sure, I hear brotherhood. I hear like building this strong foundation and relationship with a group of guys that you could like eventually build into something big. But honestly, the shit I see, bro, it's just like these guys trying to just be with a bunch of girls, which is like, that, I don't know. I'm not saying that's what it is, but that's what I see from the outside. So I don't do what is it?
On that.
Yeah, dude.
So from the outside looking in, it's really difficult to see, you know, the flourishment of, you know, brotherhood, friendship, sound learning, moral rectitude, the things that we focus on internally. But yes, that is heavily disguised by the drinking that might be happening, or like the overwhelming, you know, concern of like, oh, we got to get girls tonight or something like that. And yes, that is like heavily a part of the culture of fraternity life. But with that being said, you know, you're going to get like 80% of the guys that are like that, but the 20% of the leaders within are actually trying to, you know, develop the rest of the guys. And although we have our fun too, it's like developing each person to be the best version of themselves each and every day. So it's holding your brothers accountable for, you know, the actions that they're taking, the mindsets that they have moving forward. And a lot of it, like when you asked about that initially, I just thought about like all the times that, you know, I was like going through a hard time, or a lot of my brothers were going through a hard time, and, you know, we were just able to be there for one another and help encourage each other through those hard times to overcome the challenges that, you know, held against us. For example, 2020 happened, and, you know, obviously there was COVID and all this kind of stuff, but this is going to get really deep really fast.
Yeah, dude, talk about it.
So we actually had a fraternity brother of ours, you know, actually take his own life, which was like really challenging for me personally, because within the fraternity I was president at that time, and for me, like, this was a new brother. He had been you know, in the fraternity for about 7 months, and it was really challenging for me because not only did I have to take the direct you know, emotional hit, you know, to deal with that personally, but I didn't have time to do that because I was, you know, so focused on, you know, making sure everybody else had the resources, the mental health help that they needed at the time. And so with that being said, I thought it was like really, it was really beautiful to watch like all the brothers come together and support, Cameron was his name, support Cameron's life at the time. But for me personally, like, I found myself running so thin on, like, you know, making sure everybody else's glass was filled, that I was running out on empty. And so with that being said, I shared this with my fraternity, and they really like were able to, like, you know, delegate for me because I was so clouded, like, mentally, and like so, you know, empty of life at the time, where they helped like put the pieces back together for me. So that was like a beautiful part of like being in a fraternity to begin with. So yeah, it's really like supporting one another and making sure like we have, you know, one another to like rely on if you need it.
So I was talking to my girlfriend Brittany the other day about this. I was like, I've like realized that she has turned into like such a person in my life that if I have any struggles going on outside, that now I have like the safe zone in my head that I have someone like her and like you, like people like you and stuff in my life that like I could go to. And like, we talked about unconditional love. Like, we can get into that later about how real that is, but it feels like really good inside to have someone like that.
Yeah.
So when you mentioned like having these people that support you, like no matter what, and like through your hardships, and you give your all, they give their all, and whatever you guys are going through, you're going to get through. I feel like I have that in like someone like her and like friends like you guys. And it's just nice to have, like, I know there's a lot of people that when they're going through something, unfortunately don't have any kind of support, whether that's family, friends, whatever it is. So I think that's like, it's actually really, when you like really start having like real problems, you'll understand how crucial and beneficial it is to have that kind of support system behind you. But it gets scary when you realize there's people that don't. And then like, if I think about some things I've been through, it's not even like crazy, but then I think about like, what if I didn't have this? What if I didn't have the family that supported me? What if I didn't have these friends behind me? And I think when what you mentioned with like the fraternities and brothers and stuff like that, that's like a big support thing. And I didn't see that before, but
Absolutely. And I think a lot of that has to do with like, you know, the whole like me moving out and being super independent and on my own is like what I was searching for that whole time was a family. And so, you know, fraternity was that for me. Moving out here, like, you're part of my family, like, you know, Shane's part of my family. I have like this family that I've developed here, and that's like a really crucial part of wherever you're going to be at, is not having the mindset of being so transient and transactional with your friendships, but knowing that you can like really provide value for fucking value.
Fucking value?
Really provide value for those that you love and cherish. It's not about what can I get from this. And although that's important, you know, for it to be mutually life-giving, like I like to say, but it's really like, how can I provide value for the individual in front of me, and how can I make them feel loved and cherished at the same time? And it's never like, you know, what can I obtain, whether it be words or actions. Just sometimes knowing the person can be there for you at the end of the day is really all that it is about. And that's why I'm like really keen on like what are the intentions of the people that I like hold really close to me. And like I mentioned before, I love the term mutually life-giving, because although I love, pouring out to people and, helping people get to the next best version of themselves, it's also nice to have that poured back into me, and not even in terms of like getting something out of the person, but just knowing that, we're there for each other at the end of the day. Mutually love-giving, if you will.
When you say provide value, do you say like it's important to provide value without expecting, correct? Mm-hmm. Like it's a big thing. Then, yeah. I mean, mutually giving. Do you think you providing value and seeing even just a smile on their face is something that makes you happy, and that value is enough for you to want to do that?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes from not only seeing like the growth that they have, as an individual, but just knowing that I can, give my best efforts, and really tying my identity to somebody that is what would you call, just a shifter for somebody's life, just to make sure that like I'm like providing a pivotal moment in their life just by meeting me to make their lives essentially better. It's just like what it like really instills in me, like, okay, I am this individual, but what am I doing to meet up to the expectation of which I hold myself to? And that's why the word integrity is so big to me, because at the end of the day, if I look myself in the mirror and I'm like, I kept all the promises that, I set out for myself, that's what really gives me a lot of like, fruit in life. In general, it makes me like a more positive person, is because, not only am I being integrous with the words that I'm keeping with other people, which is great, but like, am I making myself, at peace with who I say I'm going to be too? It's pretty important.
Wow.
It's deep.
It's getting deep. All right, let's go back. I want to talk more about the fun end of the fraternity life.
It was a great time.
Hazing. I don't know if you can talk, because I've talked to some people and they're like,
I thought you said fun. Okay, no.
That means fun for not the ones getting hazed. I'm sure it's fun on the other end.
Sure.
I might just be like getting into some deep fraternity stuff that I'm probably not allowed to talk about. But like I heard some things about like the UCLA frats and stuff, and I was like, dog, you ate a cockroach. You did this. You got dropped off naked here. I'm like, dude, like. That's real. That's probably why they get banned a lot of places. Because the college I went to, for example, all the fraternity houses were off campus.
Yeah.
The school couldn't know about it. School couldn't know about parties.
Really?
I didn't even know about it. I mean, like it was like that secret because they were just banned. So like, probably because of the hazing.
What did I see you like? You were blacked out on campus on the ground.
Blacked out, naked, dick out, cockroach in my mouth. It's all personal experience I'm talking about. I'm like. Dude, I heard someone cockroaches.
PTSD. But to talk a little bit about
Can
hazing,
you talk? Can you talk about what you did?
I'm gonna be very transparent. Like I don't like hold anything back. I'm very like real with this kind of stuff, because at our fraternity, like the littlest thing nowadays can be considered hazing. Like if you ask somebody like somebody that's pledging your fraternity, like, hey, go buy food for me with your like little meal card. That's like hazing nowadays.
And pledging means applying basically to get in.
Pretty much, yeah. To be like, working to be a brother. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's called the pledging process. And yes, there's like Hell Week, which is considered like, I think they got this from the military. It's like, okay, like your last week of which like you're almost initiated or you're almost a Navy SEAL. It's like,
where you decide if you want to do it or not.
Yeah. And they really like test your limits in the Navy. But anyways,
I mean, sports are doing that too now in high schools.
Yeah,
and
sports have always done it. And people will label it as such like a fraternity thing because that's what gets the most publicity, because they're trying to like get rid of them. But there's a lot of good that comes out of fraternity too, like philanthropies and like raising money for awareness for different things. Like Phi Delta, my fraternity there at Kent State University, like they've almost, cured ALS due to like the money that we've raised from that. And so it's like really cool the things that they are doing. But yes, hazing can be involved to a certain extent, but to speak from my personal experience, and I can't speak for like every other like fraternity or different campuses, because we have the same fraternity at different campuses, and all of us, there are different levels of hazing of what that's considered. Like I knew some people in Alabama that I met at like an interfraternity like national conference, and they were talking about, I was like, oh, like our hazing is considered like having interviews with the Phi Chi or like the pledges that are rushing our fraternity, but it's like really just getting to know them on a one-on-one basis, and we like encourage them and like we don't force it, but we're like, yo, this is like the process of becoming a brother. You got to like meet every brother and this kind of thing and that. But like some people out there, they're like putting, pledges in dog cages and like shooting them with like BB guns and like making
That's a lot worse than what I heard.
making them chug milk and like throw up all over each other and things like that. Like it gets pretty crazy. But I think for anybody that's even thinking of fraternity life, like if you're not being respected, first of all, by, the people that are brothers, like you don't want to be a part of that anyways, because it's just going to transient like you as an individual. Like they always say that you're the average of who you surround yourself with. So if you're looking at these people and they're making you do things that, don't align with like who you are, you don't have to do it. Don't feel like any pressure to, be in a fraternity just because you get, parties and girls. You can go to a party and find girls if you want to anywhere, really. So really like finding a place that's really going to align with the person that you wish to be in the future, I feel like is really crucial, which is the first reason that I joined the fraternity that I did, because like I mentioned, each chapter is different at each campus. And another thing is like the real reason that I joined was to, be a disciple for Jesus. That was like my main reason of joining. But like at that time, I wasn't like a strong Christian either. And so what ended up happening is they ended up discipling me, and I became like, much more of a partier, and like ended up going out a lot more than I expected. But with that being said, I was able to still provide a lot of love and life value to the people around me, even being in that environment. So it was kind of cool.
Can you speak on any specific types of hazing? Like you say, like, I understand, like, you are the average of who you surround yourself with. Sure. I think, like, if you don't want to do something, then people should respect your decision.
Right.
But how does that play in, like, frat life? Like, if I go to join, if I'm in college, I want to join a frat, they're like, you got to do this. I'm like, no. How does that play out?
Like, you can fully say no, and, like, whether
Still get in?
whether they let you be in or not, that's, like, up to them. But, like, if you say no to something that's out of self-respect and they don't let you join, it's, in my opinion, like something you don't want to be a part of anyway. So like you just like find another organization that you really find, a lot of value. And honestly, a lot of, respect in, their morals and what they stand for. And are they really standing behind like what they say they are? Or are they being like, are they just saying that to get like people involved? Like that's something you really got to look out for too. That's something I didn't really recognize until like a couple years after, when I was like doing the national conferences and things like that. When I realized like our fraternity had it much more together than a lot of others, because that stuff's out there for sure.
Interesting. So yeah, talk about your hazing. Can you?
Our hazing,
are they
particularly,
gonna come after you if you do?
No, I mean I don't care. I mean I'm a well-respected individual, and they still reach out to me and like ask me for like tips and tricks to for leadership values to like implement into the fraternity. But like with our, I guess, hazing particularly, I mean, at maximum we would have, to, talk about like the history of the fraternity. Like we would be, in a room kind of like around and like just answer, questions about the history of the fraternity. And like we would have to, we had these, books that we had like interviews with all the brothers. And that's really the extent of like whatever hazing is involved. But like every week we would have quizzes on the history, like what we knew about the brothers, like who was in certain positions and things like that. But like, other fraternities out there, they have those things which I'm very aware of, but we never did.
Oh, really?
Quite honestly, yeah.
Was this one of the bigger frats?
We were the biggest fraternity on our campus.
And this fraternity extends into different colleges too, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we have, I think, over 150 chapters across the nation.
Okay, and they all have like it's Greek life, so it's after like these Greek Delta. What is that?
Yeah.
Delta, Sigma, Alpha.
She really wanted me to.
Huh?
Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, Epsilon, Zeta, Eta, Theta, Iota, Kappa, Lambda, Mu, Nu, Zeta, No, Prime, Pyro, Sigma, Tau, Epsilon, Phi, Chi, Psi, Omega, sir. You know how it is.
He became an auctioneer, bro.
Oh, I still got it. No, I'm playing.
Say like 6 of them, and then say going once, going twice. go.
I'll be the Gamma, Delta, going once, going twice.
Here.
Phi, Co, 7. That's just how it goes.
Dude,
we had to be able to do that in like under 10 seconds.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude, I just found you a new career path on the podcast, bro.
I'm an auctioneer, baby. It was an interesting experience, to say the least. But I got a lot of value out of it. Obviously, get a lot of network, but yeah, it's a little bit of fraternity life. Did you learn anything new?
I was about to ask you, do looks matter in joining a fraternity?
No, I wouldn't say so. It's more so the energy that you bring. It's like, can this person like, be a leader, first of all, but can they also, step behind the scenes and do the responsibilities of which like we need each position to be filled? And like, are they willing to be a student as well? Or the student of the fraternity, like learn about what we stand for and be able to pay that forward for the other people that are getting involved too.
So what did you mean when you asked me, do you look like somebody that would join a frat? Because there's
You
a
personally?
look.
Or me?
You asked me if you
Yeah.
look like someone that would join a frat or that was part of a frat.
Yeah.
There is a look. There's a look.
Sure.
If I put 30 guys in front of
Yeah.
you and you could pick, and I told you there was 5 of them, we'd probably be able to pick out at least 10 that look like they could be in a frat, right?
I would say like right off the rip, it's like, are you somebody that is at least like likes to portray confidence, like in any such a manner? Like
that I agree. Okay.
Yeah. Even if it's fake, like if you're trying to like put it out there, like, oh, I have confidence, like that's the kind of person that I'm like, well, they might have been in a fraternity. But like obviously the dress code has a lot to do with it. If you're wearing chubbies and what are those Birkenstocks?
Yeah,
Like,
yes. Okay, that's what it
or
is.
Sperry's, boat shoes and stuff like that. Yeah.
And if they were naked, they'd all have 6-packs.
Absolutely. That's just bare minimum requirement. We're like, oh, you want to join this fraternity? Rip off your shirt. I'm like, that's not good.
I mean, that's what I've seen. That's why I wanted to ask you, because the stuff in my head is very stereotypical of like
Sure.
what you see now in movies.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, even what I'm seeing when I go to these schools and stuff like that, like I'm in a group and like I know who's part of a frat, and I happen to be right all the time. And then
Yeah.
I was watching the soccer game, because the soccer game after us was 2 frats, and dude, like it's like a gang. Like they were the 2 top like frats playing in soccer against
Yeah.
each other. Like you could tell, bro, there's some tension between them. I was like, damn,
between the
bro.
fraternities?
Yeah, dude. Like
Yeah.
the way they're like, I'm like, damn, soccer is this physical? And
Yeah.
like fuck.
It's crazy. So like when I was actually in the fraternity, there was like a lot of animosity between like other fraternities just because of ego. Like everybody wants like to be the top fraternity, this, that, and the other, and they're always like trying to rat on each other for like, oh, this person's hazing, or this person's, their grades are messing up.
Oh, they do that?
People try telling each other to bring them down, but I don't think a lot of people realize, and this goes for anything in life, is that there's like a mountain of success, and what a lot of people think is that there's a peak at the top. But with that being said, if that's going to be true, then there's no other option than to push other people down to try to like get to the top. But what reality is like when you're talking about success, there's a plateau, and there's room for everybody. So like to be able to like be at the top and encourage other people to meet up there with you, then there's much more success, because at that point collaboration can happen, and like the more the merrier. And like if you get more people's ideas and more people that have like their individuality to be able to like create something magical, that's like much more ideal than like only one person being at the top, and then only having one person or one organization to look up to. And there's just like not a lot of value in that.
Right, this is interesting. There has to be a fat guy in the frat.
There always has to be at least one. Like Kia.
I can make it, bro. I can make it, bro. I got a chance.
The Jonah Hill of the
Channing
group.
Tatum's like a frat guy, and Jonah Hill's the nerd. Like just
What is this? 21
Hold on.
Jump Street?
I'm no Jonah Hill here, but I can still make the frat.
No, that's crucial actually. Like you always got like the people that are the athletes and the smart people, but like I think it's crucial to have like the one big guy, just to like have. He's the guy that brings all the fun. He's like that guy. You just like look at it and you're like, let's talk. You're gonna make us laugh,
Now, are you guys worried that this guy's going to take all the girls for how funny he is at the parties, or does this guy just not ever leave
We're
with
not worried
girls?
about that because friend zone is definitely a thing. So it's terrible.
You talked about the group of like the frat in Alabama that you guys. What was that situation?
Yeah, a lot of the bigger schools, I feel like if you have like more than 200 or 300 in a fraternity, that's where things get a little iffy, because it's hard to like maintain a lot of I guess quality members when there's such a quantity.
And is
I
that
feel
what was going on?
Yeah, when people are so much focused on recruitment, there gets a lot of less value in each member, and that's why there's such a lack of retention. Because in transient schools like that, people just come and go, just get a quick experience of fraternity life, and that's where I feel like a lot of the hazing comes in, because people aren't really committed to the value that the fraternity can actually bring. They're more just there for the experience.
And you guys call each other brothers, huh?
Yeah.
Brothers, and then the sororities are sisters.
Sisters.
In Alabama, that might actually be the case.
Might be the case, or West Virginia. West Virginia for sure.
That's funny.
Take me home, country roads.
Country road. What is it?
I don't know. It's like "Take Me On Country Roads." I think it's the song.
That's what it is.
John
No
Denver.
way.
John Denver.
John
That's his
Denver.
name. That's the guy that makes that song.
Really?
Yeah, he died in 1997.
Damn.
Why do I know
2
this?
years
Not
before
really
me.
sure.
He doesn't know the lyrics. He knows everything about the dude.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay, that's enough frat life.
Cool.
You opened my mind. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
no problem.
Still, I still have the same vision of a frat guy in my head.
Makes sense.
But now he could be fat.
Yeah, there you go.
So thank you.
Maybe have some morals.
Frat boys could be fat boys is what Armand says. So put that quote up. Frat boys can be fat boys. Armand Zaidi.
All inclusive.
All inclusive.
There we go.
It's like a Mexican resort.
That's amazing. That's terrible.
I'm honestly so intrigued. I want to go back to the motivational stuff that you're doing. Because you did mention before I got off topic into the frat stuff, you mentioned all the hardships you had been through that honestly opened your mind into something where you can provide value to someone that may need it.
Yeah.
I think the question I had and like the other side of things that I wanted to ask was, can you provide value not going through these hardships? Is there any type of like life lessons or motivational wisdom that you could give to someone without having to deal with all these crazy hardships through your life?
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely the case. So a lot of the people that haven't gone through hardships usually have the, people and the resources to be able to pay forward to them, like whether it be in a family or close family friends, to be able to like provide those resources and mindsets and, instill in beliefs that, you can make it, just being provided that you've been around those people your whole life. Now, with that being said, the people that have like been given those tools and resources have kind of like, if I were to make an illustration, it's kind of like there's like a valley with like two mountains. One's like where you want to be and one's where you're starting at, like when you're born. And I feel like, a lot of the people that, have a firm foundation and a solid family life, like they're given that bridge that they can like walk through and not have to go through all these adversities and make it through the path to success and whatever that looks like for them. But, with some people that have like gone through like a lot of adversity and a lot of challenges, there's a certain thing that they have, and I like to call it resiliency, where they're like, taking responsibility for the situation that they're in, and they're like, hey, I may not have been given the right cards, but I can create something out of this, because we're all, I feel like, instilled with something to be able to create in the first place, which every human has. And with that being said, like you can, work your way up and like work through all and fight through to the way of success. And then once you're at that point of, success or whatever that looks like for you, like you can encourage and help other people, bridge the gap so that they don't have to go through the valley. So that's why I'm really keen on like, finding somebody, that is exactly where you want to be in life, like a coach or a mentor or whatever that looks like, to be able to bridge the gap for each area of your life. Like, for example, I just did a bodybuilding show in November, and I'd been lifting for 15 years of my life since like middle school. And with that being said, like the past 6 months of me like doing that coaching, I've learned more in that 6 months than I have the 15 years that I've been lifting. So finding somebody where you can like find the master and follow the model, I feel like is really, really important and crucial for anybody's growth in whatever area they're trying to do, which is why right now I'm really, particular about having the right coach for every area of my life, whether it be bodybuilding, life coaching, just life in general. I just hired a life coach. And so with that being said, like I'm excited to get all those resources poured into me, expedited, rather than me having to try to find it on my own. Interesting. Yeah.
I guess the reason I ask is because the thing I'm trying to like, I'm super big. You know how big I am on like drinking and stuff like that. Right. Like I don't want to make my whole like message and image and everything to be like, don't drink. But that's something so big that's been in my life because it's such a big thing in everyday culture that we see around. And that's something that like people could look at me later and be like, you never struggled with like an alcoholic, like an alcohol problem. You never like had an alcoholic in your family, this, that. Like, so I don't want to trust you and like your words you say because you never had these hardships. So you wouldn't understand why I do this or why I might be in this situation. Right. Sure. But I think living it on the opposite end, which is what I'm doing, is also as motivational as maybe being on the other end of things and being like, well, look, I've been able to live a happy life without it. Now I understand you might be in a situation where you have this traumatic thing going on in your life where this is like your escape. It might be the way you could get away from it. And I understand that. I think I want to be there for those people. I'm not there saying like, if you're doing this, you're stupid. If you're doing this, I'm not with you at all. I'm just saying there is the other side of it where you actually don't need it. Right. And if you're dealing with a problem, I'm there to help. If there's something you need, I'm there for you. I'm not here to say you're stupid. I'm not here to say don't do it. I think the confusion is where I want to be the image for those kids that are thinking about maybe doing this for whatever reason it might be, whether it's their friends doing it, whatnot. And I want to be the reason maybe they can't look at it and be like, well,
Yeah.
he didn't do it and look where he's at now.
Yeah.
As opposed, yeah, go ahead.
Would you agree that you're in a position where you feel like very unique in the fact that you haven't drank?
I absolutely. I think I was
Absolutely.
talking to Armand before this too. He's like, dude, I really respect you for this. He's the same way. I want to hang out with you at parties.
Right.
Because you don't see this. Like you go to parties, like I feel the same way. I've told everyone the reason I don't really like going to parties and I don't go out is because I truly feel alone at these parties when I don't do it. Like I'll be in the corner on my phone and then like this is deep. Like, you know how drinking goes throughout the night. People just get more and more drunk. And like, it feels like people are just throughout the night just changing and I'm just staying the same. And I don't like that feeling of feeling alone.
Right.
So if I go, I'll go for the beginning. I'll go for a little bit and then I'll just leave, you know?
And I feel like this goes for anything in life as well. Is like, if you're in a position where like you feel like so, you know, out of the norm or so unique, that sometimes I feel like is your greatest strength. And I feel like if you were to able to like, you know, be in a motivational speech or something like that, you know, instead of having an individual that has gone through, you know, challenges of, you know, drinking and alcoholism and like has overcome those challenges, yes, there's a crowd that's particularly, you know, right for that. But to be, you know, a motivational speaker for, say, kids who have never drank before, and, you know, it'd be odd in a way, like, yes, there's value in it, but it'd be odd to have somebody that's like overcome a lot of drinking problems and been like, hey kids, don't do this, when they're like, you did it and you turned out fine. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So like to be in a position that you're in and being like, hey, like I haven't done this and I've still like am great and I'm living this, you know, thriving life and I really love, you know, the experience that I'm able to like provide, you know, for the world with what I'm doing. It's like goes to show like, oh, maybe I don't have to do that to feel this way. And so I feel like being in your position, like, yes, there's a lot of value in not drinking and be able to like portray that story, but also, you know, individuals that have done that and just having any empathy in the world at all, like you can, you know, tell their stories without having to experience it yourself too.
Absolutely. I think that's why I asked you at first, if you need to go through these situations. I think the other question I had, like, what's the line between being fake and like not being fake? Like you're right. If I were to be drinking every once in a while and I'm telling people never drink, don't even try it. But then they look at me like, well, you're doing it here and there and you're really strong on your message. Like I don't understand like where the separation is. I think the fact that I haven't done it is a way stronger message. So that's why I always tell people, I think the way you live your life is the biggest motivation you could give to somebody. And like the speeches are just your words telling your life. So I think whether you're going through hardship, whatever it is, the way you live your life is always the best way. Cause I always like to look at, like you see these big people on TV, everything. I'm always the guy to go look at their behind the scenes life. And if I really respect the person, I want to see what they're doing behind the scenes. And you'd be surprised. A lot of times people are like not what they seem online. But the thing I want to be is I want to be the person that I say I am. Yeah. When I'm not on TV, on camera, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like that's really evident. Like when you're looking at anybody's social media in general, yes, like you can go out and like, you know, portray somebody that's like not who you actually are. But I feel like more and more nowadays, people are able to like see right through that kind of stuff. Even like if you're trying to like blow up on social media and find a niche that like you think is like really cool and like you really like, I mean, we know people that have done this. They like try a niche out and, you know, they might be on it for 6 months, but if it's not truly passionate and fulfilling for them, it's not going to last. It's not going to be sustainable. So it really, it's so clear to me when I'm looking at somebody's page and I'm like, okay, they're actually like really authentic and like really diving into wanting to provide value for other people, not only, you know, blow up to, you know, get some money or fame or fortune. It's so easy to see that.
It stops. If you're going after it for that, you're going to keep changing direction. Yeah. And you're right. You could see that. You go look at, you're mentioning social media. You go look at someone's social media page. You could tell if somebody is not truly happy with what they're doing. Yeah. And I'm not saying they're not happy people. I'm just saying their end goal is just something that it doesn't align with what they're doing, which is why they just keep changing directions. Yeah. Oh, there's money here. Oh, there's more fame here. Oh, there's this, that. But that's why at the beginning of this podcast, I also said, like, do you think you fall back into what you were truly meant for? Because looking back at my life, like, I was always like, I liked being funny. I made like short little videos when I was younger. I used to make like funny dance videos and stuff like that. And there was like a part of my life where I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And then when social media truly became like as big as it is now, and I started putting out content that I didn't like go after this, like knowing I wanted to do this, but this just kind of fell into place. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I think when you're truly like pushing at one thing, you're always going to fall into place sort of with like what you in the back of your mind didn't know you had in mind, but has always been there kind of thing, you know?
I think it's like super crucial to, like in today's society, like say you're driving in a car to like everybody's like looking at all the cars around them and being like, oh, that'd be nice, that'd be really cool to have. Like, yes, it's good to have like dreams and ambitions, but to, you know, have the same mindset of like looking outside the window and being like, oh, like I want to live like this person, I want to live like this person. Like, you don't know their story, you don't know what makes them happy, you don't know what makes them thrive. So what I feel like a lot of people need to stop doing is stop looking out of the window and start looking at the mirror at themselves. And that's where I feel like a lot of, you know, reflection and fulfillment comes from, is taking a look at yourself and understanding, you know, how you work, how your beliefs and values like line up with like who you want to be moving forward. And I feel like that's the best thing to do, is just have that self-awareness of what makes you fulfilled, not what everybody else, you know, makes it seem like, you know, is fulfilling for them, whether it be, you know, fame, money, followers, you know, all this kind of stuff that's so infinite. Like, you can always get more and more of. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Long story short, like, stop chasing the things that are so, you know, fake, and kind of like, you know, really take an introspective look at like, what does it look like to live and love fully? And that's going to be your friends, your family, and yourself.
Yeah. There's a line in the song. It says, you don't know what the driver had to do just to pass by you. And like, I think that falls in a line with like, not only in like life, where you don't know what people had to do just to like get the fame, success they get, but also like that car reference you made. Like, if you see a fancy car, like, you don't know what that person's going through. You don't know if they're happy. Like, I'm sure they might like drive by you in a fancy ass car, but like,
Sure.
it might be like, like Gary Vee says, like, you don't want to be crying in a Ferrari, you know? He's like, if you truly understand what crying means, you don't want to be crying in a Ferrari, right?
Yeah, they say success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And I could see that, because once you get to a point where you're like in the world, like so successful, if you don't feel fulfilled, it's like, what else is there to do? And that's why you see so many of these people, you know, that, you know, have all this success. Like, you know, I mean, you've seen, what's his name? The guy from like Mrs. Doubtfire and like all that kind of stuff. Robbins, I think is his name.
Robin
Jim
Williams.
Carrey. Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Like that, for example, like you see, like he has all this outside success, but like if there's no fulfillment internally, it's like, that's the ultimate failure. And that's why I feel like some people that get to that point, they feel like empty in a way, because they've, you know, spent their lives like working through all this and like trying to get to the top. At the top, if there's nobody there with you, it's like hard to like, I guess, feel and experience life at that point.
Yeah, I think that starts now as opposed to later. I think a lot of the times when you're on a path like we're on, whatever the path might be, when you're just grinding, working every day, anything that comes to you, I always like my whole life was, if there's anything, I'd always want to put it aside and deal with it later. But then when you try to deal with something later, something else might come and you'll forget about that one thing.
Yeah.
And then you don't want the whole effect of all this falling on you 5 years from now, because then that's when like, when you reach a point, you're always going to reach a point where you're like, I need a break from whatever you might be doing.
Right.
And you don't want, when you're taking that break, for all this shit to come back to you. So I think the biggest thing is conversation and finding people you could trust and really that you love, that you could talk to. So whatever it is, I always tell people, like, I don't care how big or small your problem is. If it's a problem, it's a problem, right? Like, it doesn't even have to be a problem. If there's something you just need to talk about, like talking about it now when it's there. And I don't care if you tripped on a rock and now you're having these crazy, weird thoughts about some whatever, right? Like, I think talking about it is the best medicine, and I think handling it now as opposed to later, it makes you more confident, makes you stronger, and allows you just to connect with the people that you truly need in your life, you know?
Yeah, I could totally see that, especially like if you're, you know, dealing with any mental illness or like any, you know, challenge in your life. If you're not like letting it out, it's only going to build in your head more and more. And I think this has to do with like relationships too, friendships in general. Like if there's an issue, it needs to be brought up, or else there's going to be resentment built. It's going to snowball effect until it like implodes in a way. So I feel like really conversations is the best thing to do, getting it out there, making sure it's resolved, and like making sure that you have collaborative efforts with, you know, close people that you trust in your life, and you know their intentions, and to be able to share that with and like come up with solutions together. There's much more magic that can happen there instead of just doing it on your own, I feel like, too.
Yeah. And I think I'm so lucky to have had just such a strong like family base growing up, that I could use that as motivation also, in terms of like, people don't understand that people who are okay financially, whatever, family wise, they're still like have deep problems that might even be deeper than people that don't have that. Right. So I want to be like the foundation for telling those people that, dude, it's fine if you have a problem. Like, just because you have money, just because you have, it looks happy around you, if it doesn't matter. Like, if you need to talk about something, then you should talk about it. Right. Like, a lot of people think that, oh, I don't have it, but you have it, you should be happy. I shouldn't be. And then that's why like a lot of people that like we're saying, like Robin Williams, guys like that do end up having all this stuff. People think they're happy because of what they have. And I think that starts early on. If people know that it's okay, whatever your financial state is, whatever it is, that if you have a problem, you have a problem. And it matters, right?
Absolutely. And that's another like keen fact that I've noticed about life in general is people feel like they need to solve, problem A, problem C, and problem A, problem B, and problem C to be able to like get certain result. And yes, that may be true to some circumstances, but like there's always going to be something else that's going to come up. And I feel like that's part of the life's experience because, when people get to the point where there's no concern or no problem arising anymore, like what are you doing? Like if every day was a good day, what's a good day? It's all average. There's no like substance to life. So I feel like it's, finding obstacles that you can like really like, find solutions to. And that's why I feel like so many people that, do become successful end up, once they get to that point, like what else is there to give? So they start like finding charities. They find like more people to help.
Yeah.
And like they try to like pull more people onto the plateau of success rather than just like sit on there by themselves and be lonely. But I think that's just a great metaphor for life in general. Because everybody, they feel like, oh, once I have like no problems, I'm going to be happy. But like, that's what gives a lot of people fulfillment is going through the process and like overcoming the challenges, being resilient. And that's just going to be a never ending cycle. And that's just life in general. Because like I said, like if every day was a good day, there would be no good days. They would all be average.
Yeah. Now, my dad used to always say along the lines of like, feeling like there's a difference between good stress and bad stress, right? Like I think people always take stress as like a negative thing. Like if you're stressing out over something, like something's not going right, you're either procrastinating, whatever it might be, you're stressed out for that. But I think that goes along the lines of good stress. Like if you're having obstacles every single day and you have something you could truly work on and be better at, I think that falls into the realm of good stress, that this might be hard in the moment, but that getting through the process of this and loving getting through the process of this can make you a better person at the end of the day. I think that's good stress. So I think people need to like understand in their life what's causing the good stress and what's causing the bad stress, work on, and not forgetting the bad stress. I'm not saying only focus on the good stress and make sure that's good, but I think understanding the difference and then working at both of them the way they need to be worked at. Like if you're working at bad stress the way you need to be working at good stress, I think that might cause a problem, vice versa as well. I think understanding what bad stress is, why that's in your life, and how maybe you could tone it down and get rid of it versus the good stress, which like you should focus on and actually like really like understand that they'll both make you a better person in different ways, right?
Yeah, I could see that.
Dude, I actually love Adam Levine. Like I'm a big Maroon 5 fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though his body's...
Oh my God, we got to talk about Adam Levine.
Well, I don't know too much about the guy, but
you're about to. Go, talk. Did you hear about that?
What?
Oh, can we take like a quick 3-minute detour?
Sure.
Did you not hear about the whole Adam Levine situation?
I heard that he was like sexiest man alive at one point, but other than that...
No, dude, he was literally like... He got caught like cheating, right? He got caught like sending these weird messages to these Instagram models.
Okay.
Like what? Like your body looks phenomenal. They're like these. It's just so weird.
Random.
Like
and he's married.
Whisper sweet nothings into
let me whisper sweet nothings into your ear.
What does that even mean?
Right, dude. Like imagine like it
sounds like no fulfillment,
dude.
Sweet
This is like, dude, this is like 70-year-old man at a strip club kind of talk.
Oh my!
Right?
Yeah.
Like who says that?
I don't know, not me.
All of Robby's DMs are just...
I'm just like, how's your integrity? That's all I need to know.
Can you pull up some of the messages he said?
Yeah, of course.
It's so random.
No, they've been literally making like these memes about it and stuff too.
No, I haven't even heard of that.
You and your girlfriend text back and forth these weird messages. You just think it's perfectly normal.
Oh,
you're like, that's weird.
I was actually watching Tiago's podcast before I came here.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, pretty fire.
I don't know.
I still don't know who she is. Does he?
It's a lizard. It's a lizard.
It's a lizard.
That's what he says. That's what they all
It's
say.
on a TikTok video or something, right?
Wait.
Holy fuck. Holy fucking fuck. Your body is absurd.
Your body is absurd. Holy fuck.
How are you such an hourglass? My God.
How are you such an hourglass? My
So
God.
odd.
I'd buy a steak dinner and whisper sweet nothings into it.
Let me read these off like here.
What?
Armand, put your headphones on. I'm going to read these off very sexually. My name is Adam Levine, and I'd buy a steak dinner and whisper sweet nothings into it. I want a tattoo. What does that say?
Ass.
I want to tattoo my ass now. Now come to... What does that say? Maui. Now come to Maui and tattoo me and surf. I need to put some clouds behind the Reaper. How do you see that?
Fuck. I'd do anything for it.
And one of these emojis.
This Sunday, Scream 6 or is it 5?
Was it an ad?
It's coming out.
It's truly unreal how fucking hot you are. Like, it blows my mind. The way you blow my Okay. What a detour.
Fuck.
Like, that's bad. Like, if
Yeah, no risk.
like it's bad
Do you
enough
think
for
it's real?
no, that's real.
yeah,
Like, he got caught. He
so
got caught in a cheating
odd.
scandal.
Whoa.
Yeah.
He's
And
married.
He's
Or was.
married, right? Or
Was?
he? Did he have a girlfriend or is he
Maybe.
married? Does he have kids?
I hope not.
Dude, imagine your kids see you sending
He
that.
should have got a payphone.
You saying this all on a payphone? Telling a girl that I want to get her name tattooed on my ass.
Oh, something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice little sub-segment there.
That's our subsegment we like to call Adam Levine sucks Robby spam. Okay. Back. Let's go back.
Where were we? Eustress. Give me some examples of eustress.
Me stress, like
You-
good
no.
stress.
So that's the opposite of stress. Is eustress. That's good
Eustress?
stress.
Is that what it's called? No, I didn't.
EU stress.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Eustress. What kind of eustress do you have in your life?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Do you have any long-term eustresses, or are they all just short-term that you handle?
I'd say a eustress that I have personally would just be like contributions. Like my girlfriend and I, we were talking about, going out and like handing roses out for Valentine's to like people that may be working on Valentine's Day or maybe homeless individuals. But like, yes, that's going to cause like stress for us to be able to like, reach down the ladder of empathy and like really, feel the moment with these people and like whether it be praying for them and just having conversations with them, it's going to be challenging, but to be able to do that, there's fulfillment at the end of the day with that. So yeah, it's like, that's just like a small example, but, other examples of eustress would be like working out, for example. It's like, it's going to be like, treacherous on your body, but like, I feel like putting yourself through these situations, whether it be working out or like whatever this converts into like real life scenarios where you're like challenging yourself in order for there to be an outcome that's going to put you in a better position in a healthy way. I feel like that's the best eustress you can have, like intentionally. And of course there's some like unconscious ways of eustress as well, but there's some like main ones that I think of.
Nice. Do you think everyone deals with some sort of eustress every single day, whether that's their career or personal life?
I think it's good to. Do I think everybody does it? Not necessarily. Some people, I think it really depends on the questions that you ask yourself. Is like, because you could wake up every day and be like, my life sucks. Why is this, why does God do this to me? Or why do these people, treat me this way? Like really comes down to the questions and like making sure you're transitioning your vocabulary in a way where it's, what's the word? Constructive. So, instead of saying, why does my life suck? Just ask yourself, how can I like make my life better today? It's like the same core, but like one gets you one, like whatever questions you ask yourself, you're going to find the answers to. So say, why does my life suck? You're going to find answers to that. How can I make my day better? You're going to find answers to that. So it really comes down to a lot of the questions that you ask yourself at the beginning of the day, which is like a core 5 questions that I ask myself at the beginning of the day. Like, what things am I grateful for? What things can I contribute to my loved ones today? Like, those are a couple of the questions, for example, that I ask myself to, start my day off on a really positive note, because I think it's so easy to get caught up in the world of like, let me check my phone. And like, as soon as you do that, you're worried about like, what's going on the outside, but it's really, really important to take a look on the inside and like, what do you want to bring in this world? Because as soon as you wake up, and I've also heard right after you work out are the times where you're most creative in your element of not worrying about what's going on in the world around you, but what you can bring to the world instead.
So you don't check your phone first thing in the morning? Really? How long after you wake up do you check
I say
it?
about like 30 minutes after I make my breakfast, brush my teeth.
Oh, you do all this stuff before you check your phone?
Yeah, make my breakfast, brush my teeth. I actually do some stretching and meditating. I do a little bit of praying too, just depending on like, what my day's looking like, if I have to like do something earlier or whatnot, or if I wake up in time, because sometimes I have those days too where I just want to sit in bed. But with that being said, I think your physiology has a lot to do with overcoming your psychology too. So say for example, if I have a day where I'm like not feeling like wanting to go to the gym, for example, because it's pretty routinely thing that I do Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturday. So I go to the gym no matter what. It's not a negotiation in my mind. But if I have a feeling of like, I don't want to go to the gym, first of all, I'm thinking about like, how am I going to feel if I don't go to the gym? Am I, being integrous to myself when I look myself in the mirror? Am I going to be proud of the person standing in front of it? But also, another way to encourage yourself to overcome these challenges is to get up and move your body. And a lot of people think that motivation comes from the mindset, but a lot of it comes from the actions that you're already doing and the momentum that is built from that. So say if I don't want to go to the gym, all I have to do is sprint down to my car. And I know if I do that, my mindset's already going to be like, oh, I'm just ready to go to the gym because my body's already like in motion.
So that's what you do. If you're not motivated, you're running down.
It's like a red flag to me if I'm like having a thought of like, oh, I don't feel like doing this, even though I know I'm supposed to be doing it. The thing that I don't want to do the most is exactly the thing that I need to be doing in the moment. So I'll make it sudden action. And once I do that, it's kind of like, say you've written an essay before, like high school, college, whatever that looks like. Say you're writing an essay, the hardest part is even getting started, like getting the first word on the page. But you notice once you get that first sentence down, it's like, oh, we're on a flow now. Then you just start writing. It's like how anything is that you're procrastinating in life or that you're trying to like do but don't feel like doing. It's like just take the first step and the momentum will carry itself. It's like, that snowball that's at the top of the mountain. It's already like built for you. All you have to do is push it. You have to take the effort to push it. Once you do that, you're good to go. Momentum carries itself.
Do you think stuff happening in nowadays world is making people too soft and maybe not like going alongside that mindset?
Absolutely. Like people nowadays, especially in our country, like people have had such an efficiency mindset of like, everything should be taken care of for me if I just do this or like press this button. It's crazy. Like, we used to have to, map out our directions, have like a map to like point out our directions. But if we don't have like Google Maps working, sometimes we're just like, oh, let's not go because my map's not working or whatever. It's like people have that mindset in like everything now. If it's not like a snap of a finger, it's like not worth doing, I feel like sometimes. So people like literally will limit themselves on what they're able to do based off of like the resources that are provided for them. But what people need to be doing is be resourceful and ask themselves, how can I get through this even though I don't have A, B, or C resources?
Yeah, I mean, the reason I ask you that question is because you mentioned, did I write essays? And I talked about this on last podcast too and stuff with like the whole new AI system of like writing everything out for you is coming out. That's like the creative space, entertainment space, now getting into like the school space, getting into work space, like resumes, everything. Cover letters are all written with this. People aren't even like thinking anymore. It's like a whole computer that's thinking for you. And then on your side of things, like, I don't know how crazy it's getting with like supplements when people are working out and stuff like that. Like, I'm assuming they didn't have the supplements they have now like 30 years ago, right? Like, I'm not only mentioning steroids, but everything that's like supposed to make everything easier. Like, I feel like everyone's just taking a shortcut in everything they're trying to do. And that mindset you have now, I feel like that was prevalent in a lot more people long time ago, maybe a few generations before us. So I think it's amazing that you have that.
And I'm really adamant on like being self-sufficient. So if I feel like any dependency on whether it be a substance or, pre-workout or, like a caffeine or anything like that, like I do not like, my maximum efficiency being created by something that isn't coming from me. And so whether it be anything that I can be dependent on, I'd like need to cut that out as soon as I feel like a dependency on it. So if I'm like, on a pre-workout for a certain amount of time, and like if I don't have it for a day and my body like is craving it, I'm like, I need to stop taking that for a while. Because like that's when I know that my body isn't at its maximum level or self-sufficient or efficiency level without needing a substance to rely on. And that has a lot to do with your dopamine receptors in your mind. And I feel like that's what this society has done for us so much, is like constantly needing so much dopamine in our heads to keep like at an elevated level. And so when we don't have that, it makes a lot of people depressed. And so that's why, you can visit a third world country and they don't have the resources that we have, but they're much more happier because they're self-sufficient on this maintained dopamine level that we're supposed to have. But we're so keen in America, particularly in other first world countries, to, get as much dopamine as we can and like, hype ourselves up on like the next big thing or whatever that can make us happy or think that makes us happy. But what it really does is it dulls our dopamine receptors so that we need more and more.
And I think the thing with like other countries and like why they're able to be happy with all this stuff is like if you don't have access to this stuff, then like it's not, you don't even have the thought of doing it, right? Like over here, the problem is people are just like trying to one up each other. These companies are trying to make money, so obviously they're going to one up each other. And there's like, it gets scary when like, sure, like we could always cut out pre-workouts, we could always cut out computer systems writing stuff for us, but then it gets scary when it becomes a dependency, and then eventually gets into like things like steroids, right? Like people look at that and it's like, once you start, you're kind of in that, right? You're kind of
like,
stuck
what's
in
the next big thing? What's the next big thing? Always people are looking to, you know, get the next greatest hit that they can have. It's like any addict. If you're on like, I mean, meth, for example, like you take it once and you're going to take it once a couple of times, but like the next time it's like not going to be the same as it was the first time. So what can I do to get that initial high that I had the first time? I'll just take some more. So
and then your body gets so adapted to it that you need to take even more and then more, and then you're stuck in it for life, right? Like it's so hard. Like you see these addicts and stuff. Like there's days where like I'm like, damn, I want an energy drink because I have like a headache or something. And like my headaches get like, sometimes they're pretty bad. It's not awful, but sometimes they get pretty bad, and I hate that. Like I don't want to do that. But then like I think about like these people that are like, you mentioned meth and stuff like that. Like I'm like, if I'm having headaches like this off like a little caffeine, I wonder how it's like crazy, right? Like the thoughts going through your head and like the visions you're seeing if you don't have this. And that's why it gets scary. Once you're on it, you're stuck on it for life. And I think the thing with like another thing, like going back to that alcohol thing I mentioned, there's countries that like people here are like, oh, it's part of our life. We just do it. Let's just do it. Like, I think that's going to become a problem with like a lot bigger things than just alcohol in the future. There's countries like I mentioned Iran a lot, like it's banned in Iran, right? Like
alcohol in general,
you can't have any alcohol. Like people find ways to get it, right? Like people go, like if they catch you with it, it's illegal. It's just illegal, period, right? Like, and I'm like, I look at people, I'm like, there's countries doing this.
Yeah, our country has done it.
Yeah,
obviously it didn't work.
Right. I mean, I'm saying like the facts are there that there's places that are literally doing this, and not only alcohol, but think about like bigger things, right? There's like, imagine we ban all this crazy stuff. We ban AI systems. We ban all this stuff. Like, it's not new. Like, there's places actually like fucking doing it, right? So why do we need to? Why are you telling me like you're so dependent on this pre-workout, right? Like stuff like that. And I'm really intrigued with like the workout side of things. Like, did you ever have like a thought in your mind where you're like, maybe steroids, maybe not? Like, no disrespect. Like I'm saying, like, is there ever a thought being around such like big bodybuilders and stuff?
Yeah, it was never a thought to me personally to like even consider steroids, because like I mentioned, if I can't like take it naturally, like if my body doesn't, naturally, create it, then I don't want it entering my body. I'm really keen on not having any like outside substance. Like I just got really big into like organic foods because I did realize like how much, fake crap they put in there, which can be like cancerous, can be like really effective on like our energy in general. I
literally saw a video. I'm going to cut you off, but I saw a video. It was really cool about like, you see the videos where they put stuff in water and they'll see like the parasites that come out, right? I saw them put strawberries. I think it was strawberries, tomatoes. There was tomatoes and like water. They'll put it in like regular water, and they'll put in like acidic water that'll like take everything out that's like cancerous and bacteria and everything. Dude, the water was like bright piss yellow in like the acidic water that took all the stuff out. And it's like, dude, this is like, it's scary.
We consume that.
Yeah.
And whether you like buy organic or not, I feel like it's really important. Like if you're buying fresh produce in general, it's just to wash it.
Yeah.
Just simply wash it.
I think so.
That's like a huge like thing that people don't do. And I wasn't doing for years until I saw like a video similar to what you were talking about. And all this stuff that comes off there, you've eaten like bugs, parasites, like dirt.
That's what they spray on there, and that's where they come from, right?
Pesticides, like literally chemicals you're just consuming, and they literally say wash on there, but like nobody does that.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's inconvenient.
My mom always used to do vinegar or salt water washes on any fruit. She'd always buy organic. She'd be like, just spend the extra money. Like, it's worth it.
Yeah, it's worth like the energy too. It's like if you're spending more money organically, and you're like thinking like, I'm wasting my money on buying more expensive things. Like the energy that you're gonna have from just clean foods is going to supplement like whatever money you're spending on it.
Really? Do you feel it? Like it feels different?
Like I feel like more vital. Yeah. I feel like I'm living more life, approaching things with a more clear headspace. So I feel like the energy that I'm receiving from the organic foods is literally like paying off like what I'm spending, for buying organic in the first place. Like I'm in a much more clear headspace. I can get more done, have more energy to feel more alive, and like be more effective with what I'm doing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I never knew the word organic did anything, but I knew it was better.
Yeah. And sometimes like with organic too, it's like sometimes they can put organic on there when it's like 70% organic, but like I feel like you have to really like look at the ingredients and be like, okay, this is like exactly what it says it is. No like xanthan gum or like things that you can't pronounce in there. It's like just try to avoid that as much as you can, especially with fresh produce. But when it comes to like boxed things and stuff like that, they're going to include preservatives just so they can like have like a longer shelf life, which I feel like is kind of okay. But if you want to be like full like organic person, like it's obviously the best. But sometimes it's inconvenient, so you got to weigh the balances.
Interesting,
for sure. Considering over there.
I'm always curious about like vegan diets and stuff. Like that. Boba. I can't get away from boba. But like vegan diets are getting so big, especially in like LA and stuff. Like so many vegan restaurants are opening up.
I'm not like so keen on like veganism or anything like that. I'm not like super into that. I understand where it's coming from, but there is a lot of like crucial supplements that you are missing, like vitamin B12s and like proteins and things that are like really important to, I feel like, a diet in general, especially as a bodybuilder. Like I could go full vegan, but it's just like not the move for me.
Are these energy drinks? Because we talked about energy drinks before, like in person. The energy drinks that like I look at it and there's like 7 ingredients, like no ingredients in there, 0 calories, no sugar, like, but it's so sweet. And it's like, are these like, how bad are these for you? Like what's in there? Like what's doing all this to you?
What do you mean? Like what's so bad
what's
about it?
in there? I'm saying like what's in there? What makes it so sweet? What gives it so much flavor if there's nothing in there?
Like you gotta be like really keen on like looking at the word natural flavors, because like that could like bypasses like a lot of different things.
Really?
Yeah, because like when they put natural flavors in there, it's like you don't really know what flavors they're putting in there. It could be like a bunch of different chemicals and things like that. But
so if they put in like a bunch of different chemicals in there, all they need to put is natural flavors and it'll count. Wow, so 7 ingredients might not really be 7 ingredients.
Probably not. But like this one ingredient that they put in there can be like 10 different things in this one natural ingredient. It's not that natural.
I always wonder because it's so big on marketing now. Like no ingredients in here, but then I tried. I'm like, wow, this is like all these different flavors, this much caffeine. I'm like, what's in here? Is this really like, okay for you? But I don't know. I'm always skeptical. I've always been like trying to stay away from energy drinks. I never had an energy drink until like pretty recently.
Really?
Not in high school at all.
Oh, you chugged one on our way.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like now I'm like, I'm trying to stay away, but like I prefer coffee, but I don't really like the taste of coffee. I just kind of drink it because I drink it.
I think it's good to have every once in a while. If you need a little quick pick me up, I think it's fine. But to be dependent on it is where I'm like, borderline. Like I'd rather not have it at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks, Robby. You're making me think a little. I'll think harder when I'm in the store.
Yeah, that's
and
all
I'm picking
it is.
between
like,
chicken.
I'm not here to like be like, you should cut all this out of your diet or not have any of these things. It's like, just consider it before you consume it.
I think that's the thing.
Don't be so passive and be like, oh yeah, just grab it and drink it.
I think that's why people fail a lot of times when they try to do something, let's say food or something, when they try to fix their diet.
Yeah.
The day before they're at McDonald's or whatever, they're doing crazy. The next day they have this list. They're in the store. They're just 100% in. And I think that caused a lot of people to fail. I think first thing is understanding it and then slowly making changes one thing at a time, right? Yeah. Like if you're eating, let's say McDonald's 5 times a week, right? I think first thing, instead of just going straight, like if you want to go vegan, going straight vegan the day after, like it's going to mess your mind up. It's going to mess everything up, right? Like you're not used to that. Your body's not used to it. Your mind's not used to it. I think maybe cut it out. Take 2 of those out in the first week, right? And then take the 3rd one out. By the 3rd week, you're done eating McDonald's. 4th week, 1 meal a day, you start implementing some kind of things vegan. I think that's a lot more powerful than just going in there, because you're going to go in there and eventually you're just going to fail. Because like I've dealt with it. I've seen people deal with it. I think if you're going to do something, you got to start small. It starts with understanding in your head.
Have you ever done the 75 hard?
I haven't, no.
Have you heard of it?
I heard of it.
Yeah.
All right. No Robby. Robby is taking a bathroom break. Here's a segment where we talk about the sponsor of the video. That being said, if anyone wants to sponsor the next video, you might get a segment, because this video we had no sponsor. Today's sponsor could be Huddy. Huddy, come say something. Sponsored by Huddy's NFT project. Woo woo, Broomstein in the house.
What's going on, everyone?
Hey, you stole my color, bro. Burgundy's my color.
Oh, look, yeah, we're matching.
We're matching. Get your dick out of my face. Thanks for coming, Huddy. Thanks for saying hi. Huddy's little characters always secretly somewhere in the podcast. If you could flip to Robby's thing, I think you could see it. There it is. There's these little Funko Pop. Where were we? 75 hard. For those of you who don't know, 75 hard is a challenge that I think you and Nick were like the first guys to do it here.
Out of our friend group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's 75 days in a row of, you tell me, working out twice a day.
Yeah, you work out twice a day. One of them has to be outdoors. You have to drink a gallon of water a day. You have to follow a diet. No alcohol. Pretty easy for you.
I just become an alcoholic when I do
Yeah.
it.
You have to read 10 pages a day of any book, and then you have to take a progress picture every day as well.
75. So
So 75 days straight of each of those things.
that's a lot, huh?
Yeah.
2.5 months, is it?
It's a lot. It's a good like 2.5, 3 hours out of your day sometimes.
Really?
Yeah.
And I think the tricky thing is working out twice a day at different times, right? Or can you do this all at once?
Yeah, it has to be different workouts. So, yeah, I think like the fitness part, it's fantastic. Like you get a lot of transformation out of there if you put the work into it. But I feel like the biggest thing of all was the mindset transformation and, really creating a life that you've always wanted for yourself. So I feel like going and like self-assessing, like what do I want the outcomes of this challenge to be? And really looking at yourself from the outside perspective in and being like, okay, how do I want my life to be? And how can I implement daily habits to create this lifestyle for myself? So I didn't even view it as like a challenge per se for 75 days. I was like, what do I want my life to look like on a consistent basis? And so I took that challenge and really implemented it in my life. And yes, there's rules for that 75 hard that you have to accomplish, but now I do that in different aspects of my life where whenever I want to implement a new habit or a new system into whether it be my business or like practicing my speeches, etc. It's like, if I want to do something, just maintaining a habit for at least 30 days, I feel like it's crucial to make it like part of your life.
So did this turn into like a routine that you kind of held on to without thinking much
Something
about?
I don't find like exclusively important like 2 workouts a day. Like I work out always once a day. I always read every day, and like little things like that where like I wanted to implement those as habits or like make phone calls for business purposes. Just things like that I wanted to do that never really had the routine for it. It just gave me a reason to do it consistently for a certain amount of time, where nowadays when I do these things, it doesn't even feel like I'm doing a challenge or trying to work for a certain outcome. It's just part of like my system of what I do.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me.
You're good.
Adam Levine.
Cheers.
Adam Levine, I love your body.
He's talking crap.
Nice. No, that's cool because it changes like your whole lifestyle too. Like if did you have to like take away from parts of your life in order to start that, or you were already like in the fitness stuff? Because I know like I don't want to speak on his business and stuff, but I think with the challenge, like you have to like kind of step away from certain things you're doing in your daily life if you're not used to this kind of lifestyle, right?
Yeah, sure. Like, going out and eating, for example, or like when I was doing my bodybuilding, I'd say that was even more difficult because I had to meal prep everything. Like I would literally I have this like travel backpack. It's like a cooler / heater for all my food that I would meal prep for the day. And so when I'm out and about and like don't have food, usually people are like, oh, let's go to this restaurant. I'm like, cool, I'll go with you. I literally sit there, pull out my little lunchbox and have food, like ready to roll.
It's okay. Just go back and forth. I'm about to say bye.
But,
Yeah. So you'd actually go to these restaurants and
I'd have
pull
like
out
my
a meal
lunchbox, pull out the meal prep, and the people would be like, what are you doing? But I'm like, bodybuilding, bro.
that's tough. That's
Dedication.
mentally tough, huh?
Yeah, and I remember this one time I was at like, it was like a week before my show, and we were all like celebrating one of my friend's birthdays, and we went to this pizza joint. It was like really like nice pizza joint, and like they were like really like fancy in suits and ties and stuff like that. And I like bring out my meal, and they're like, yeah, you can't have that here. And I'm like,
Oh, really?
"Are
They
you
said
serious?"
that,
Yeah.
huh?
They're like, yeah. So I like went out to the patio
And
ate, came back in. But it's like part of the dedication. It's like at that point, it's like it ties in a lot of like your identity and like who you say you're gonna be. That's why I'm so crucial on integrity and like holding that commitment to myself. Because I'm like, at that point, you really find the resources of like asking the questions like, how can I make this happen? If I really want to be number one in this category, like what does the person that's going to be number one look like and be better than them? Because like if you're imagining like what somebody like at a top spot looks like, it's like, yes, you can implement what they're doing, but you're never going to be number one thinking about that because everybody wants to be that.
Right.
But like if you overcome and surpass the expectations of like what the number one person is doing, that's how you're going to win. So I feel like sometimes when you're looking at, the peers around you and like trying to be the best, it's like you're almost limiting yourself because you're basing, your like your work ethic in comparison to everybody else around you. And I feel like that's really limiting to your potential because everything you need is already within you. You just gotta how can you be the best version of yourself every day? And then you're gonna eventually come out on the top in front of everybody.
Period.
Amen.
Wow. I think that's a good place to wrap it up, Robby.
Wrap it up, tap it up.
Ooh, I like that. You
know how
can't
it
see us dapping it up right now. Oh, yeah, you can. Oh, yeah. Boom. That being said, thank you so much, Robby, for coming.
for having me on,
I
my man.
appreciate it, man. That
Appreciate
was
you.
amazing conversation. Robby motivates even when he doesn't try to motivate. Look at his life. Look at the way he lives. Look at the way he dresses. Makes me want to go out right now, put some clothes on that I don't own. You
can borrow them if you
I'll
want.
borrow, yeah. Thank you, Robby. I appreciate you coming on.
Much love, bro.
Make sure you guys subscribe. New podcast episode every single week. Today was a fun one. Make sure you subscribe. I'm Kian Nalbandi, your host. I will see you guys next week. Thanks again, Robby. Follow him on Instagram, Robby J.
Robby J. Bobby. Much love.
And peace.